Alright everyone, welcome back to the channel, Cowboy Trades here. So I just wanted to give you a quick short form update. We've been talking on this channel for the past couple of months on why we think the cryptocurrency markets are going to continue breaking down. Here's something a little bit different than what we've previously been discussing. We've been talking about how the capitulation is right around the corner, but here's another way of looking at things. This is on the weekly time frame using the Heiken Ashi candles on the stock RSI. This one's very interesting. If you want to learn more about Heiken Ashi candles, I've explained it so many times on this channel. I highly recommend, if you want to learn more, go over to playlists, educational series, and if you scroll down for about 10 videos, you can see how to Heiken Ashi candles. I'm going to hope that you know what Heiken Ashi candles are. So diving right into this on the weekly time frame, we highlighted this the other week. This is not the major thing that I want to talk about, being that the Heiken Ashi candles, when you're looking at the total one, which is, by the way, the total cryptocurrency market cap, you can see we're breaking beneath this point of control right now. Zooming out, these are from the volume profiles. The most amount of volume traded was right around here. We've lost this support, so we should be magnetized to lower prices. Now, I've made arguments on this channel about why we should be going down to the 786 Fibonacci, also arguments about why we're coming down to the point of control all the way down here around about that 540 billion. What I really want to point out is the stock RSI in comparison to these Heiken Ashi candles and how accurately these have called the most recent downtrends and swing ups in the price action. So we'll be looking at this on the total one, which is once again the total cryptocurrency market cap, and the total two, which is just basically the altcoin market cap. It's basically the total cryptocurrency market cap minus Bitcoin. So with that being said, if we jump right into the total one thing that I've noticed, if you are trading this, it is really not good to trade if you are in a parabolic run to the upside. And the reason for that is because the stock RSI is much more reactive to price action in the immediate short term than it is from price action that happened 1 to 2 weeks ago. So basically what happens is when you go in these parabolic landslides, the stock RSI sees it sees like a first correction coming around the corner, like a minor correction which wouldn't even show itself, and it starts freaking out, especially when Bitcoin just goes on these massive parabolic tears. So what I would like to highlight is in this massive parabola, while it told you to get in on the absolute low, so that was beautiful, you can see it started firing bearish round about here and breaking down when Bitcoin, or when the total crypto, was round about 1 billion or 1 trillion, and it moved all the way up to about, it moved up to 2.5 trillion before it came back down. And then obviously, as you can see down here, it did fire another buy signal for you to get back into this. But just a quick highlight, if you are in a parabolic run to the upside, and I imagine also a parabolic run to the downside, this would not be the indicator that I'd be using, because once again, stock RSI, it takes into consideration the lower time frames more than the higher time frames. So with that being said, parabolic run, don't use this. But what happens when you're in these market scenarios where we're down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, really choppy market scenarios? This is where the stock RSI excels. And if we look at how you would have performed using the weekly Heiken Ashi candles on stock RSI since the 2020 capitulation, you can see it fired to buy about a week or two just after the bottom. That was a fairly big difference away from the bottom, but nonetheless still a very good call for you to enter on this one. And as you can see, it told you to get out here, and I've measured this one. This was about a 15% drop, and then it told you to get out here. This was about a 20% drop. I won't waste the time measuring them. If you really want, you can go check that out yourself. But as you can see, so far, it's pretty accurately called every peak and every trough. Stock RSI also told you to get back in before the green Heiken Ashi candles even came into effect. And then as you can see over here, massive parabola to the upside, and all of a sudden the stock RSI doesn't work. So let's not focus on times when Bitcoin's in a parabola. Let's focus on the choppy price action. As you can see, we topped out over here, and technically, yes, it did kind of roll over, but stock RSI was pretty low down on here anyway. So I wouldn't really call this a signal, but nonetheless, as you can see, coming down to the lows, the bottoming region around here was beautifully called. You had a lovely run to the upside, you had a top, and it told you to sell. We had a decent breakdown to the downside. You had a bottom, it told you to get back in. You had a top, it told you to sell. And as you can see, we just keep on moving through these cycles. Down here, it told you to get back in, and we had a bounce. We had a nice bounce all the way up to here, and it told you to sell here. So what I'm really highlighting is when you see these crosses in the stock RSI on the weekly time frame, you can have a pretty good idea that something brutal is about to come around the corner, whether it's something euphoric to the upside or whether it's something euphoric to the downside. What I do want to highlight right now is that the weekly stock RSI is breaking bearish. This happens when the blue line capitulates beneath the orange line. And in fact, we even came back up to it the other week. We came back and retested it as resistance, and now we're continuing to get the breakdown. Bear in mind, this updates once a week, so this has really not even started to factor in the major capitulation we're already having on the total one. So with this being said, I think I've demonstrated my point well enough on why the total cryptocurrency market cap, meaning basically Bitcoin, altcoins, all of the shebang, should be moving back down to new lows. And with this, like I said, you can be conservative, 786 Fibonacci from where we are right now. I will let you know that is a 16% drop to where I think we're going down to, which is the next point of control on the fixed volume profiles, is 550 billion. Let's quickly look at the total altcoin market cap before we do wrap up this video. Like I said, these are just short form updates. I would not use this as the only trading signal that you could possibly ever use. With these short form updates, we just love to give you a different perspective and look at things that we don't particularly look at in our normal TA. And with this, you can also see altcoin market cap from the lows. Let's not include that data point because with the total one, we said that we were going to be measuring it from the lows of the 2020, so I won't give it any extra data points. As you can see, pretty accurately called the bottom over here, and we had a run to the upside. It started to tell it, well, it started really telling you to get out over here, and we had a nice pullback, and it even told you to get out on this tiny pullback. Not that it was, you know, too necessary, but you did bounce back up from that. So take it week by week. The lows down here, it was definitely a couple of weeks off, but we really just trended sideways. So I'd say the lows were pretty accurately called on a percentage basis, maybe not on a time basis. As you can see, told you to get out over here. There was a correction on the weekly Fibonacci candles. It may not look like much, but from the peak up here down to the low, that was a 28% correction. You have to bear in mind, this is a weekly time frame and we're looking at the whole chart from basically back to 2018 on a logarithmic growth curve scale. So some of these things that look like tiny corrections, these were brutal capitulations. I mean, this little red candle that we're in right now is this week's worth of hell, but nonetheless, as you can see, what we enter a parabola. So this is where the parabola happens in the total altcoin market cap. And what do you know? The stock RSI on the weekly Fibonacci basically becomes useless. Although it does call the top just like it did in the total one, it did it when it was like all the way down here. So it was a little bit of a weird one. I don't particularly like this signal or think it did a good job of a parabola. But like I said, you wouldn't trade this through this parabolic activity. You'd be trading it through these major bounces. This is the best indicator to use. This is the best trading setup to use in a very bumpy market. Now, as you can see over here, I'm going to wrap up the video now because I think it's fairly obvious to see that these peaks and troughs are very accurately called on the weekly stock RSI using the weekly Fibonacci candles, of course. And once again, just to let you know, the total 2, the altcoin market cap, is doing the exact same thing. We've broken bearish on the weekly stock RSI, and unlike previous times where we break down, kind of have that little tapering and then bounce back up, we had that tapering and then bounce back down. I think it's pretty indicative. I think it's pretty obvious that we're going to be moving to lower levels, my friend, for the total one. For the total one, 560 billion is where I think we bottom. For the total 2 being the altcoin market cap, 320 billion. These are my guesses for where I think that we would be bottoming, approximately around this region. We still have our ways to go, about another 38% down for the altcoins and about another 38% for Bitcoin. But can total 2 go a lot lower than 43%? Definitely can. Keep your eyes on this. Keep your eyes on the stock RSI. This should also give you a good entry, but the entry point is definitely not anywhere near. So what I've got for you for this update, my friend, it looks like the cryptocurrency markets are primed for capitulation. What do you think of this down below? What do you think of this trading setup? Let me know. Do you like these short form updates? As always, Cowboy out. Peace.